Welcome back, guys. Back at it again with another reactions video. My name is Angel. Today I'm going to react to how great Larry Bird's prime was. Now, with all that being said, let me know where you guys have Larry Bird ranked on the top 10 NBA players of all time, if you have him ranked in the top 10 players of all time, and if you guys have ever watched him live in person or on TV. Now, I wasn't fortunate enough to, but those that have said that I've watched him said he's either the greatest or the second greatest NBA player of all time, behind Michael Jordan. Now, with all that being said, let's see how good Larry Bird was in his prime.
One of the most divisive characters in basketball history, with some recognizing Bird as the greatest player of all time, while some have him dropping out of the top 10 altogether. This coming in recent years amid the rise of this current crop of NBA talent, coupled with mounting narratives of the alleged physical inferiority of other eras.
Oh, well, he was being guarded by plumbers and firemen.
And Larry Bird presents a major dilemma, which is on the rise as of late across the board in all of the major sports. How do you weigh different eras? How can you cross-compare different players who might have existed decades apart from one another, played against varying levels of competition, and in starkly contrasting league-wide environments? How can you factor in elongated time of play and peak performance extension amid technical advancements in nutrition, supplementation, training philosophies, and implementation? Fundamentally, the answer is complex.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But one element of comparison is easy. How dominant were you in your own time? How much did you excel against the competition within your own era? And how feared were you? And Larry Bird has one of the shorter careers of any all-time great in NBA history, as he was drafted with the number 6 overall pick in the 1978 draft by the Boston Celtics at the age of 22. But Bird opted to return to Indiana State for his senior year in college and forego entry into the NBA until the following 1979 season at the age of 23. And on November 15th, 1988, just 6 games into the season, Bird would be diagnosed with debilitating bone spurs on both Achilles that would require immediate season-ending surgery. And at the age of 32, Bird would miss that entire season and postseason, leaving many to speculate that Bird's career was over. And years later, Larry himself admitted he should have retired following the Achilles surgeries. However, the next season, at the age of 33, Bird returned and played 75 of a possible 82 games.
What a beast, man.
24 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists per game in 39 minutes a night.
Wild.
Load management be damned. But the decline would set in sharply, and Bird's reluctance to miss games or sit out nights throughout his career, coupled with his intensely physical style of play, took its toll. In all, during his final 4 seasons, Bird missed 142 of a possible 328 games, and that was after missing only 27 total games over his first 9 years in the NBA, due to the sharp fall-off amid a body that quickly failed him. Larry Bird played a total of only 897 regular season games and 164 playoff games throughout his entire NBA career. Compare that to the self-proclaimed GOAT, who many believe has surpassed Larry Legend in recent years as the greatest small forward in NBA history.
That one right there made me the greatest player of all time.
LeBron James. James has played to date in 1,703 combined regular season and playoff games, nearly 700 more total games than Larry Bird played, and LeBron is moving on to season number 21 and counting. It is conceivable that,
I would say this, statistically wise, LeBron has it over the majority of most NBA players. But if you go eye test for eye test, unbiased, and you see, the skills, the abilities, the offense, defense, the rebounding, the assist, the IQ, the clutchness, the free throws, and the ability to just win a game or win a series, I take Larry Bird over most. And the only person you can say, for me anyways, is a 50-50 flop is Bird in his prime versus Jordan in his prime, and maybe even Kobe. Those are about the only three players that I could say that I go in Larry Bird's prime, they'd go like head to head. Anybody else, I think Bird has the edge, personally, in my opinion. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I mean, statistically wise, these guys now in this era, this generation of NBA players, they play for stats, not to win. The guys back then, they played to win, and that's why, it may have, in the long run of their careers, backfired as they couldn't play as long because they didn't do load management, and they didn't play for stats, and they always shot the ball, and they were always the go-to guy. If you see LeBron play, people don't critique him on this. When the shot clock's down to 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, the majority of the time during the regular part of the game, the first 3 quarters, he'll pass the ball up so he doesn't ruin his shot field goal percentage, and his field goal makes and misses. If you notice that. Kobe, the reason why his field goal percentage is horrible is because no matter what, he'll always try to bail out the team, and he doesn't care about his stats. If he did, he'd be passing the ball up to some players like Smush Parker, Brian Cook back in the day, and all that stuff. But instead, he would take the shots because he's trying to win. Not like these players. And the same thing, I'm assuming, with Larry Bird as well. He would always take the shots, and although his percentage was way better because he was a better shooter, regardless. But that's my opinion on the matter. Let me know down in the comments what's your opinion on the matter.
That James will end up playing in twice the amount of games as
That's
Larry
wild.
Bird. It's no wonder James and other all-time great players dwarf Bird's statistical accumulation with the relatively
that's why he's overlooked.
limited career Bird had in terms of time played. But in understanding the context of his career from a peak standpoint, and when factoring in the NBA built around him at the time, Bird produced arguably one of, if not
one of the toughest eras in the
ever.
world.
Coming into the league the
in
same
NBA
season
history
as Irvin Magic Johnson in 1979, it would be Bird that won Rookie of the Year that season, while also being named to first-team All-NBA and making the NBA All-Star team in just his rookie season. And from that 1979-1980 season, Bird would be named first-team All-NBA for the first 9 seasons of his career, while the Celtics would make 8 conference finals over those 9 seasons. And this Eastern Conference was a far cry from that of the Chosen Ones era that he feasted
That's
on,
facts.
which was
I don't care what anybody says. LeBron faced the worst Eastern Conference teams in NBA history, without a shadow of a doubt. Like those teams, I don't even know if one team went over 50 games, maybe 1 or 2. And their best players were like DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry. The only players that he could say, he faced young George Paul, which he wasn't ready to face LeBron. And that's when LeBron moved to Miami. He hopped on another team. When he was in Cleveland, the only credit that I can give him of winning and going to the finals is when he actually got swept by the Spurs and he beat the Detroit Pistons. Beat Rasheed Wallace, Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, and Tayshaun Prince, and those folks. And that that was when you're like, okay, he's arrived. But then since then, he didn't make it back to the finals with Cleveland. Had to jump teams to try to make the finals. Nah, but Larry Bird, he stuck with it, stayed there, won his titles. That's impressive, and didn't miss many games, and he faced some good teams that I started to learn about, as I started reacting more to more Larry Bird videos, to Michael Jordan videos, to Magic Johnson videos, and seeing what the 80s provided, and how good teams were back then. It's not even close.
was one of the historically weakest conferences ever. But the Eastern Conference of the 1980s was the power conference. This decade saw one of the greatest teams in NBA history in that conference. The 1983 Moses Malone and Julius Erving-led Philadelphia 76ers. It had the Bad Boys Pistons, the Dominique Wilkins Atlanta Hawks, a perennial 50-win Milwaukee Bucks team, and Michael Jordan. There were no easy series in the Eastern Conference playoffs during the decade of the 1980s, yet Larry Bird found his way to 5 NBA Finals
That's
over
impressive.
the first 9 years of his career. And his reward for battling through the gauntlet of those stacked Eastern Conference playoff fields was meeting one of the greatest teams ever assembled in the NBA Finals from the Western Conference. The Celtics and Larry Bird had the misfortune of running up against the LA Lakers in 3 NBA Finals, led by arguably 2 top 5 players ever, Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. A team that also had top 50 all-time player and perennial all-star James Worthy as
I'm a Lakers fan, and I
option.
agree.
Yeah,
Bird
lost to that team twice in the NBA Finals for his only 2 Finals losses. But he also beat that team in the NBA Finals
That is
for
impressive.
1 of his 3 Finals wins. Oh, and also beat the Hakeem Olajuwon Rockets in another NBA Finals. The accumulated number of elite,
Another
high-end
top 10
opponents
player.
Bird faced throughout his 9-year run puts him in the running of having acquired some of the most difficult rings in league history. But this should come as no surprise, since Larry Bird was one of the most high-leverage winners the sport of basketball has ever seen. As the
Look at the
Celtics
hustle,
were
the
just
tenacity.
32-50 and 29-53, the 2 seasons prior to Bird's arrival. But in just his first
From the worst
season
to the
in
best.
NBA as a rookie, Bird elevated the Celtics from 29 wins to 61 and took Boston all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Not
And
even
over the
Bron did
9-year
that.
run until his dual Achilles surgery
Not even Jordan.
practically ended his career. The Celtics won an average of 61 games a year and never won fewer than 57. During that 9-year prime, beginning in his rookie season at the age of 23 and running until his double Achilles surgery at 32, Bird averaged 25 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals per game.
Dude, those stats right there are impressive, especially when he's not playing for stats. He's playing to win the game. He's playing for the team, not just for himself. He's playing for legacy, not for like, oh, if I have this stats, then when we debate off, like he's not thinking about, he's thinking about winning a title. That's very impressive, because if he was playing for stats, you bet they'd be like 32, 35 points a game, and it'd be like 13 rebounds, 14 rebounds, and then damn near 10 assists. That's his stats would be if he was pat statting. Let's be honest. He was playing to win the game. That's impressive. This guy, man, I don't know. He's number 2 in my list. But, man, it just sucks that he couldn't play in his prime against Jordan in his prime. And then obviously he played Magic Johnson in his prime. But it sucks that Jordan couldn't play Bird in his prime. His prime. I mean, because when he did, he got worked.
While shooting 50% from the field, 38% from the three-point line, and 88% from the free throw stripe. During that 9-season run, Bird finished top 5 in MVP all 9 seasons, with an absurd 4 second-place finishes during that time and 3 first-place finishes. His 4 runner-ups were to Moses Malone twice, Julius Erving, and Michael Jordan. His 3 league MVPs were won consecutively over the span of 1984 to 1986, and done in a league that had Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Moses Malone, Julius Erving, Dominique Wilkins, Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Michael Jordan. In the 1980s era, an era defined by arguably the greatest collection of high-end historical NBA talent, the case that Larry Bird was the greatest player of them all during that decade is an easy one to make. So while players that have played drastically longer than him might have stacked more stats than him, what if the question was how dominant were you in your own time? How much did you excel against the competition within your own era? And
Yeah, people want to change the narrative.
You as a player.
People will change the
Under those
narratives as time
parameters
gone
of
by.
evaluation, it is clear that Larry Bird still stands on an island with very few guys who have ever played in any era.
I think I think Larry Bird stands on a mountain on his own, or at least with two other people. That would be with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, in my humble opinion on that, as far as like dominating and winning titles and being the main lead and putting fear into the teams. This guy is just another breed of athlete. He might be number one. It's unfortunate that injuries occurred during his career because who knows where he would actually be. I have him in my top 10, regardless of the fact the way that his career ended. But yeah, as far as talent, he's second to none. As far as ability and the things that he can do on the court, he's a full complete player. He even plays defense. And if you had to put your money where your mouth is, and you had all the NBA players in their prime, I think Larry Bird would be definitely on the top 5 players that you would choose to pick to start a team around for one season or something like that. But just to think about the fact that just imagine this. When you compare players, when people argue who's better, LeBron, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, like Larry Bird might be number one just for the simple fact that he beat Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Michael Jordan. Those are 4 players on the road to win a title, and I'm assuming he beat Isaiah Thomas as well. Like, those are players that are on a lot of people's top 10s, and he beat those players on the road to win the finals, or he beat them in the final. Like, just let that sink in. What top 10 player LeBron beat to get to the finals? Oh, wait. He lost to Tim Duncan, and he would be top 10. He lost to Steph Curry and beat Steph Curry, and he's outside the top 10. You know? He never beat Kobe Bryant. Kobe, you could say, oh, who did he face? He faced, Tim Duncan. That's someone who is on the top 10. And he faced some of the toughest teams in the league. But as far as Larry Bird's concerned, Larry Bird is just a phenomenal, absolute beast of a. With all that being said, if you like the content, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and see you on the next video.